Today's randomly generated album is Medúlla by Björk, released in 2004. Most of Björk's albums could be a bit experimental and weird, but despite that weirdness, can also be accessible. Like they quite often do have songs that are legitimate bangers as well. But this particular album is by far her least accessible and most avant-garde. So the album is mostly a cappella, so the vast majority of the sounds you're hearing, the only instrument is the human voice. And sometimes when you think of a cappella, you might think of something like Pitch Perfect or like college university a cappella groups. They don't necessarily have a problem with that, but a lot of that's kind of corny. Well, that's not what this album is. And there's some interesting vocal layering going on that really creates some cool effects. So yeah, the album is experimental and it can be a bit divisive. Like I mentioned, how some of our other albums do have bangers, but there's no real bangers on this album. There's nothing you can sing in the shower. There's nothing that you can play in the background of a dinner party. I mean, maybe if the dinner party is a bunch of Icelandic hipsters. So yeah, in many ways, the album does come across as disjointed. So it could be a bit of a challenging listening experience. But personally, I find it very fascinating and compelling, and read just the idea of what can be accomplished with the human voice. And a couple of the album's highlights include Oceana, which does have moments of weirdness, but there's some moments of beauty as well. And I also love the track Mouse Cradle, which has a lot going on vocally. So yeah, there's like things going on. Like on the entire album, there's things like the mouth trumpet, beatboxing, some gorgeous choral arrangements, and then a number of the tracks feature Canadian Indigenous throat singer Tanya Tagaq. And I'm actually a fan of Tanya Tagaq, but a lot of her music, like basically like the Indigenous throat singing, it really produces that guttural effect, which can be a bit jarring to listen to, but it's also kind of compelling and it's kind of fascinating the fact that the human voice can produce those sounds. So yeah, like I mentioned, it might not be an album for everyone. I think you kind of have to be in the right headspace for it. But I do think it's a very interesting album to listen to. And for the most part, I did like the album. So I give the album 4 stars.